Hi, everyone. Welcome to Inside Talk Show. I'm Karla Elizondo, and today I will be speaking with an Emmy Award winner and the artistic director of the Actors Workout Studio in Los Angeles, California for the past 30 years. And most importantly, one of my favorite mentors, Mr. Fran Montano. Welcome, Fran.
Thank you, Karla. Thank you for helping me. What a wonderful introduction.
Oh, you're so welcome. I met you in 2007 when I was just a babe in the woods.
Yes, you still are to me.
I can't believe it's been 30 years since you opened the Actors Workout Studio.
Yeah, a couple of studios before that. So that's just at the Actors Workout.
Oh, goodness. When did you open your first acting studio?
Well, the Actors Workout was my first acting studio, but I worked in a couple of theater companies that I helped start prior to that.
In Los Angeles?
Yes,
Nice. And you were an actor yourself, right?
yes.
I love that. Okay, so let's get right into it. This is something I'm very
I
passionate
still am, Karla. The same way.
Oh my God. I know you are. One of the main topics that I love talking about when it comes to artists, actors, musicians is the importance of expressing. If you have that expressive or creative urge, I believe we're all creative, but there's some people that truly have that desire to get on stage, to pick up an instrument, to perform. And when they don't do that, it can really wreak havoc in so many areas of your life. And I come from a mental health perspective, of course. And when I found myself kind of pushing that down, for me as an actor, I was so embarrassed. I was scared. I was ashamed. It was like I had to come out of the closet. Truly, I felt like to admit that I wanted to be an actor because I just was raised in a home where you get a stable job and you do things that are safe and secure. I couldn't say, "Hey, mom and dad, I'm going to move to LA and be an actor." So I took the safe route and I got a production background. I studied film and I kind of went in the back door, and that didn't last long. My soul was dying. And, 7 months in, I left the production work that I was doing and I went to the Actors Workout Studio with you. And that was really the beginning of my journey. So what is your perspective on, young actors coming up or people who are acting now who have trouble kind of just expressing themselves unapologetically and freely?
It's an interesting question, and I would take that to not just artists, of actors, musicians, dancers. I mean, I think it's true of all humanity. We want to express ourselves.
Yeah.
Some people are called to be doctors, and some people are called to be, civil servants, and some people are called to politics. And so those are all forms of expression, just like acting is. And I think the journey of us all is to find out, what is my path and what is my expression. And so I have to find it. And I think it's a deep yearning.
Yeah.
It's
Like a
deep down in
calling.
people. It's a calling. And I also think people think it's one thing and maybe it's something else. And, they start one thing and then they find something else. But if they're on the journey, they're finding it. So, in terms of your saying, I didn't do the usual thing because, parents aren't supportive and things like that. I mean, I'm now a parent. When I told my parents I wanted to be an actor, I'm going to California, they weren't supportive. They thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
And I just thought they didn't support me.
Yeah.
And what I realized, because I now have a child who's of that age, and it's like you want the best for your child, and the odds are really hard in that business. So my parents, they weren't against me being an actor or an artist. They were concerned about the odds,
Right.
of being against me. But I think everybody has that kind of issue. A lot of the people who come to my beginning acting class, they don't tell anybody they're in it.
They keep it a secret. It's like a shame because we are so ingrained and it's just a part of life to care what other people think. We are so afraid of what other people will think. And it's just been the past couple of years for me, Fran. I mean, even doing the show, I've said it a million times, not being afraid, being unapologetically myself. And I just don't give a anymore. I'm done. I couldn't handle it anymore. And I'm just so grateful that I feel like I had a near death experience because I kind of did. I was dead.
Right.
it's the truth.
Emotionally and spiritually you were, and it comes back. Yeah, I actually think a course like, studying this work, whether it's what you're doing or kind of what I'm doing in terms of that creative expressing yourself, I think it should be a required class for seniors in high school and freshmen in college. I mean, required. Get to know who you are.
Know
Learn to
thyself.
express yourself. Yeah. I know this conversation and you probably wanted to meet with me because you wanted to talk about artists, like you said that, but I knew athletes that wanted to do that. They wanted to go pro. And it was like their parents were, no, the chances of going pro, how hard it is. So those kinds of expressions, they're in a lot of areas.
And I'm glad that you started it with that, because you're right. And that's kind of the core. It starts with the acting, because that's how I know you. And that's just the way you express in your life. That was your calling. But I think you're right. It speaks to everybody, no matter if you're an athlete, if you want to go to med school, if you were raised in a family who's never even graduated college and you tell them you want to go to med school, they're going to laugh in your face.
They could.
Yeah.
So, overcoming that, I think, is the big, actually addressing it young is a big thing.
Because it's in youth when these things kind of get locked in.
It's funny when remember the crisis of 2008 when all these businesses went undone?
Yep.
They all went under and all these people lost their jobs. It's like, I can't tell you how many people started to study acting who were like in their 40s and 50s who had established careers. And they said to me, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to do this, but I went this route. And, I have this great career as, an engineer or as an accountant, and I just lost my job. So I might as well do what I always wanted to do because, and then they would come back into it. So in a lot of those people, it was never about them becoming actors, like in the business.
It's about the expression.
It's about learning to self-express.
Yes.
And what that took them to, like some of them went from there to a different career. Someone went from there to getting a divorce. Someone went from there to getting married. I mean, the letters and emails that I've gotten over the years are shocking in terms of, I would get an email from somebody 5 years later and saying, I want to thank you for everything I learned in that process. It's, you know what I mean? What we're talking about is the process. It's not, my class, because you're doing that on your level, I think, in your coaching. It's the same thing. Now there's more opportunities for it because people like you, well, many years ago, it's like took an acting class is the only place you can go to express yourself. But now there's all these, like what you're doing, which I think is fantastic. So, but I'd get a letter from somebody and they'd say, hey, I want to thank you because I get two kinds of letters. One is, I went back home, I sold all my stuff, I'm moving to LA.
Wow.
And I got equal as many letters saying, I moved back home, I married my childhood sweetheart, I took over my father's business, which he always wanted me to do. But now I know that's what I want. And boy, what a difference. Not like I did it because I was supposed to. He said, I found myself and I'm choosing it. And then, this is a very happy, successful person because they're doing what they want to do. That's the journey that, I think we all have to find.
You're right.
And, you're in it.
And you touched on such a beautiful point. Everybody's artistic. Everybody is creative, whether it be painting a canvas, making a music, carving a, wood, whatever that innate expression is. If we don't, that helps guide us, I think. For me, I'm a naturally enthusiastic, charismatic, kind of dramatic, performy type. I love to make people laugh and entertain people. But my heart, I felt like, well, I'm not like other people. Like, I don't know if I want to be on a sitcom and be stuck to a career forever, because I thought, well, what is this about? But it was about self-discovery, me being comfortable in my own skin, because I was so self-aware and so just literally being on a stage with lights on, with people in front of you, to be able to settle in. Because when I first came to the Actors Workout Studio, I did not know where it would lead me. All I knew is that I was doing what I was called from the inside to do at that point, 23 years old in my life. And it has led me, I was not the performer I was then, but I pushed myself and I look back and I'm like, I did some really crappy plays and I was around and I was part of the crappy part. You know what I mean? Just not being able to express myself or being comfortable in myself. But oh, cut to now, I am confident in my skin and who I am. And guess what, Fran? Now I want to be myself. I have more of a desire to, do talk shows or do my coaching or my therapy, being myself one-on-one, totally comfortable and grounded. I don't want to play other characters anymore. I mean, maybe I will in the future, but that's where it led me. And I think a lot of people, there's this stigma and fallacy of, there's only one way in Hollywood. And if you don't want to, your goal isn't to be A-list with Brad Pitt, Meryl Streep, why are you in it for? So I really love that we're talking about our journeys can take different
Oh,
routes.
yeah, and it's like, look where you are now, and it took you to go through that to get there, you know? My journey was the same. I wanted to be an actor. I mean, I just, I had this romantic idea about acting, but that's not really my calling. I'm much more an educator, a teacher, and I'm an educator and I'm a coach.
Mhm,
But had I not gone that route, I wouldn't have come to this place,
mhm.
and so that's the
Can be
journey you had. And that's what so many people have that journey of. And
People feel guilty, like they failed, like they didn't reach what other people thought success in acting should be. And it's a means to an end. When I decided to go back to school, I remember I told you all of my actor friends, they're like, you're giving up. You're leaving the acting community to go back to school. And like, what? No, we don't want to be around you because that
what?
yeah,
You got
because it shook them. It shook them to their core that, but hey, I still took classes, I still went, and I was going to school. So people have this notion that you can only do one thing and it can only be one plan. And if you deviate from that plan, you're a failure. Like, don't have a plan B. I hate that saying. It's like, don't have a plan B, have every plan. Just don't have a goal B. Don't have a dream B.
I think John Lennon said life is plan B. Plan B is, it's, I mean, I don't know if you want to get spiritual about it, but whose plan is it? Is it your plan, or is it God's plan, or is it your karma's plan, or is it your past life regression plan, or is it your ego? Is your plan your ego, or is your plan really what you're supposed to do? I think it starts out as ego because we were just raised to have big egos for some reason. And then once you kind of drop your ego, you find out, well, who am I really? What
Yeah.
really matters? And then all of a sudden, it's not the ego of being a famous movie star. And other people think there's something wrong with you.
Mm.
Meanwhile, you've gotten an incredible gift. And for some people, it is that. That is their calling.
Right.
And I coach them. I work with those people.
Mhm.
And for some people, it's like, this took me to this place. And it all comes down to, what's success anyway? What is success? I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, are you successful because you got on a series for 5 years and never worked again?
Right.
I mean, are you?
Right.
Um, my most successful experiences were in the theater. They
Yeah.
weren't on television. Who rates it? To me, it was the theater experiences that I had.
Yeah.
But
A
other
lot of
people,
theater actors will tell you that
but so everybody's got their own, what is it that makes it okay? And I think that's true I know it's funny we're having this interview when we are, with the election and everything, but I know people that, they wanted to be, president of the United States, but they became senators.
right.
And I knew people who wanted to be senators, but they're like the county supervisors. Well, those are good jobs, county supervisors. You know what I mean? Or even the mayor of a city. Maybe your dream is to be, a senator, and you get as far as a mayor. Does that mean you failed?
Exactly.
I
No,
don't
because
know.
I just was on a panel last night talking about calling versus career.
Mhm.
It was such a good topic because I can relate. I had different careers, but I've always had the same calling. I feel like we all have that phone booth that is implanted in us, and the phone rings. It starts ringing different times for people. But if you don't answer it and it keeps getting louder and louder and louder, and you don't want to pick up, which I was guilty of that, because although I'm pursuing acting and I'm doing all this stuff, the phone kept ringing and I'm like, I've already answered it. I got the plan. I don't want to pick up that phone because I don't want to hear what you have to say, because I already know it's a different message. But my life was not working. My plan was not working. I did not want to pick up that phone. And so it wasn't until recently that I picked up the phone and I listened and I'll talk about different, more vulnerable things later of what I had to do to really listen, get the things out of my life
Right.
that weren't serving me. But it wasn't until I answered the call that it was not just totally in alignment, but better than I could have ever imagined.
Right. And I think if you were to examine, when you say these things aren't working, if you were to truly examine them, you might not have really enjoyed the process of it, versus the result that you're expecting. I mean, the most interesting thing I noticed with a lot of actors that I work with is that they don't like acting. They don't like the process. They just want to be stars. They just want to be famous. Right. So after a couple of years of being very miserable, it's like they're not enjoying the process, And I think that's where we get messed up. It's like, you got to like the work. You got to like everything it entails. You got to like that part of it. And of course, then that feeds you, and then it fills you, and then this. But it all comes down to, are you doing it for the right reason?
Yeah.
Are you doing it for your ego? And I also think part of it is figuring it out.
Yeah.
It's like figuring it out. Trying, you go to college, you try a couple different courses. I don't like that course. I do like this course. I don't like that course. I do like, I changed my major in college like 4 times. I did, and it's like, you got to kind of find your way.
Yeah. What were the other majors that you explored?
I started out as a biology major. And I ended up as a business major with a biology minor. I actually have a degree in business and an equivalent degree in biology.
Wow.
College wouldn't give me both degrees unless I went an extra year, and I didn't want to go an extra year to take nothing. They just wanted the money for an extra year. So I had a business degree and a biology minor, and I ended up going to Hollywood to study acting and went back to school for 4 more years. And then slowly they came together, it's like, because I run my business, without my business degree, that probably would have been a lot more challenging. So you never know how it's going to somehow pay off.
Yeah. And I think it's nuanced, and people, like, I think it's the arts and the venture into any creative endeavor, or saying, I'm going to be an actor, I'm going to be a musician, I'm going to be an artist. It's so black and white. Either you win or you lose. And or you succeed or you fail. You have a hit record, you have a TV show, or you're a nobody. It's like, it's so nuanced and layered, and I don't think it's talked about. And I think that a lot of people suffer. They have failure, they get into addictions, they just rage out, they implode and explode, and because this is what I feel. If you have the urge to express, like you said, you don't know what form that's going to take. And I think, if you want to start in your form that you're attracted to, like acting, it can lead you, like we said, it's like just the catalyst. It's the road that you choose to go down, and then it leads you to where you're going to end up. And it could be, movies and TV and all that good stuff. But if you don't explore, know yourself, use the art to know your own self, what's the point? What is the point?
I don't know how many people are going to watch this, but when you talked about, this is the only thing to do, I'm either going to succeed or fail, and they're in that zone, and they're always going for that ring, and they're not even enjoying the process along the way. I mean, I know a number of people that live by that philosophy, and it worked for them. Okay. But they don't seem to be happy.
Right.
It's kind of like, okay, now what? This is just the fruit of my labor. Getting a great series, or getting a great commercial or a movie or even an Oscar. It's like, that's a fruit of my labor. It's not, the end all. Because you will find, I tell my students all the time, so many students tell me, I'll be happy when I get a job,
Mhm.
and then they get a job. It's like, well, now what?
If you're not happy now, you'll never be happy.
So there's the work in that part of it.
Yeah. And it's self-work. It's the shell. Yeah. I remember learning that lesson myself. I was going to run a marathon. I ran a marathon, and I remember I was, the training part, the getting up early, the moon was still up. It was dark outside. And then the day that I ran it, I was like, that's it. But I realized the whole excitement was the journey. That was just a moment to revel in the what did you get? A medal and the photos and the accomplishment of everything I did before that. So yeah, the Oscar, the Emmy, the marathon medal, that's just the symbol of what you did the whole journey. The journey was what you should have been just enjoying, pushing yourself, growing, expanding,
Yeah,
being better than you were the day before.
it's the journey. I
I
mean,
always hear that.
it's silly, but it's true.
It is. It
You
is.
know, I knew somebody in medical school, and he just hated it until he could get through medical school. He didn't enjoy learning about medicine.
Oh, that's rough.
Just, I mean, you're getting to study this one subject. Go in and study this one subject. This is what you're going to be an expert in.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I'm waiting for that degree.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to the person, but I don't think he was a very happy doctor after that. I don't know if he's even doing it anymore. But
Right.
it's kind of like, so, and that's the hardest thing. I mean, that's the hardest thing. I know two guys that are plumbers. No, seriously.
Mhm.
And one guy is like, he took over his father's business, and he's a plumber, and he followed in his father, and he's miserable.
Mm.
And he puts his own profession down, and he's just, he never learned how to express who he was.
Mm.
My other friend, who's a plumber, he's probably the happiest guy I know. I got a little problem here. Don't you touch it. I'm going to fix it for you. It's like, and he comes over with his stuff, and he does his things, and he lays everything out, and he does his thing. And, it's like, look at that. That's, man, he explains what he did for like 20 minutes. And like, he's an artist. Do you
Yeah.
understand?
Yes.
He's the youngest person I know who's my age. I mean, he's like young at heart.
Yeah. And that's what it is. When you're always constantly growing, you're keeping this thing alive.
And it isn't the dollars in the bank. It helps, but it isn't that.
Right.
You know?
Right. If you were, okay, so say there's young artists, young actors who live in different parts of the world, and their dream is to come to Los Angeles and to pursue acting. What top 3 things would you tell them?
I actually get that question a lot. Now I would tell them, study at my school, because you can study online. You don't have to leave your home. So
Yeah.
I couldn't have said that a year ago. So you can study with a great school from wherever you are. Everybody thinks you got to go to LA or New York. Well, guess what? You don't have to right away. But before that, I would tell them that do community theater, join a group in your area, get involved in whatever college is nearby that has a film and a program, and see if you like it.
Yeah.
If you really like it, then things will start to happen. And maybe you do it there. Maybe you don't need to come to LA, or maybe then you do. But it's, see if you like it, because that's, because it's the idea. It's the idea. I want to be on People Magazine.
Yes, I will never forget my first class with you. It was in 2007. I was 23 years old, and you said, "Don't do anything for 5 years." I said, "What?" Said, "The clock is ticking, buddy. I'm 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. I'm going to be 28." And you're like, "You're not going to be ready. Fine. Go out, do what you want, do community theater, get your plays under your belt." And I just remember thinking, this guy's crazy. I'm special. I'm going to just, everyone thinks that, right? Which
And you are.
you could have pushed through, and, you could be discovered. But like, if you are not ready physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, not just for the using your instrument properly, but for all the things that come with the entertainment industry, you're going to go down fast. So that was the soundest advice you've ever given me.
Right. And that, when I said don't do anything for 5 years, it's not don't do the work.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, I know what you meant.
it's study and train and do it and do what you got to do. I mean, the biggest tragedies that I see is people get a chance to meet somebody who can really help them,
Hmm.
and they're not ready.
Yeah.
I've had this happen a lot, and a casting director will say to me, I know somehow they got a connection to the casting director because their parents went to college with their something, whatever. And they'll go and they'll meet the casting director and they'll audition, and if I know them, I'll get feedback and they'll say, nice young kid, have him come back in 3 years after he's trained.
Yeah. Yes.
You know what I mean? It's not like, this is not, but then there's all these other stories, well, the thing about acting that's different than I think other professions is, it does have, you never know how it's going to happen. Somebody can, they might have something naturally going on that they're just gifted and they go.
Yeah.
Those people are kind of far and few between.
Yeah.
And, if you want to find out if you are, go for it. But, have a plan.
Yeah.
Have
And
a
it's
plan.
about longevity and really enjoying it. Like you said, it's a craft, it's something to study. It's an art form. And I think that I still enjoy doing it. Look, I'm a therapist now. I do different things now, but you better believe when the studio doors open back up, I am the first one showing up to the bonus classes and running on stage and all of that stuff. Cause for the rest of my life, I will do that. Cause it's in me and it will never go away. It's always been in me and it's never gone
Feeds you.
away.
It feeds you.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. I love that. And out of all of the acting studios in Los Angeles, let me just say my piece. I have been to many. I studied religiously from 2007 to 2013. I'm talking weekly. And I always came back to the Actors Workout Studio because I truly believe it attracts. There is some magical, mystical force. I don't know if it's underneath the building in the foundation, but it's a place where you can not only be vulnerable, honest, raw, and it's not about, like you said, like all the accolades and awards. It's truly about the work. I never learned more about myself as a human being or myself as an artist than at the Actors Workout Studio. Like I said, I've gone to many other studios, which I will not name, but it was about the facade. It was about the competition. It was like high school. I'm like, what? Like people were reviewing one another. It was bananas. I have so many stories, but I always came back. It's been 13 years now. 13 years. That says something. And I always remember when newbies would come into the Actors Workout Studio and they would be coming from these different studios. And I'm like, ooh, they're in for a ride because this is not fake. You're real. You're real at the Actors Workout Studio. And I've seen people leave and they're like, oh, this isn't for me. It's like, oh, it's not for you because it's real. Okay, bye. It's not for the faint of heart. It is not. You are naked on stage. And if you ever want to know, about yourself, I don't care if you want to be an actor or not. If you ever want to get comfortable or just explore yourself, I encourage you to take a class at the Actors Workout Studio. It's so amazing. I love it.
Oh, so glad. And look where it's taking you. I mean, you're amazing.
Oh, thanks.
And you're in your dharma, you're in your zone, you're in your power,
Yeah.
and it's not your ego, it's who you are.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. And people are going to want to be around that. Yeah. They're going to want a piece of that. They're going to want that inspiration to them. Yeah. And, and I think what I'd like to leave anybody watching this is, look at Karla. It's like, you were on a hell of a journey for a long time. Do you know what I mean? It's not like I woke up one morning and now I'm this new person. It's like you worked. I remember you in class. You worked hard on yourself. No, you did. Yeah. And, I always knew great things were going to happen. And when people say that, it's like, oh, do you think I'm going to get an Oscar? I said, I don't know what it is, but I know great things are going to happen.
And you as a teacher, you're not just treating us as actors, you're treating us as human beings, and you are getting into, you call us out, you do that work. And that's why some people run away and some people want that, on camera, very Hollywood kind of, class of cold readings and very, very separate. But
it is technical skill. so that I can do my best imitations.
I would say that is 90% of the classes is technical skills. Learn how to do this, learn how to do this. But I think what really holds
Which
you,
we do. We teach that.
of course, you do great on camera classes, you do business classes, you do all kinds of stuff. And I'm doing a new bonus class starting soon on knowing yourself, because that is the foundation of everything. I truly believe that. But yeah, I think that what makes Actors Workout Studio stand out above all of the other classes, and take it from me, I was there, I have been there, is you discover yourself.
When I have beginners, I don't know if you heard this when you came to the beginners class, but I would say for 3 months, you're not even going to pick up a script. You're going to work on who you are, how you make your choices, your imagination, your creative things. You're going to find out who you are as an artist. And half the people don't take the class. Do you understand?
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm glad I tell them that, and I'm glad they're, but half of them come back, probably in 3 years.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Or they're out of the business. 3 years later, they've either come back or they've gotten out of the business, because it's going to catch up to you.
Yeah.
It's going to catch up to you.
Yeah.
There's too many good actors out there that are willing to be who they are in the character. So your imitation and your, interpretation is not gonna, it's just not gonna cut it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
I'm proud of you, Karla.
Thank you, Fran. Well, hey, I am a part of your legacy. I truly am. You have been such a mentor to me and such a leader and a guide, and you just nurture perfectly.
You're gonna come and teach us class. You're one of my former students who started very much at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many years later it is. And you're coming back to teach a class at my studio. And I'm gonna take it because I think you have so much to offer me.
Oh, thank you, Fran.
So I'm probably gonna be in your class if you'll have me.
Of
Because
course.
I think you've got a gift. You've taken this work and you've gone in a direction that's very different than my direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I want to hear it. I want to hear more about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I learned from you. Yeah. I resonate.
I'll be there.
I do this too. When you sit there in class, you do this. Or you do, this is, anybody who knows Fran will be like, my dream for you is. I love that. Well, I could talk to you for hours, but I know you got to go. You're a busy man. I am going to post all of the links to connect with Actors Workout Studio, the website, the address, how they can get in contact with you. And I know that you have a new Thursday night, what kind of like a studio community gathering. Is that just for students or is it open to the public?
Students and our own people right now.
Okay.
We've got quite a community of people, former students, graduates, people who are in class. So
nice. And do you think that after quarantine lifts that you will continue online classes, or are you going to move it all back into indoors?
We'll probably do both.
Both? Like
we have a lot of people all around the world now that are studying with us, and we're not going to want to lose them. I want to be able to service them and help them. So we'll probably have some kind of a hybrid of both. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, I look forward to it, and I'll see you on Thursday.
Thanks for having me, Karla.
Thank you. All right. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time.